Then Paul stood in front of the Areopagus and said, "Athenians, I see how extremely religious you are in every way. For as I went through the city and looked carefully at the objects of your worship, I found among them an altar with the inscription, 'To an unknown God.' What therefore you worship as unknown, this I proclaim to you. The God who made the world and everything in it, he who is the Lord of heaven and earth, does not live in shrines made by human hands, nor is he served by human hands as though he needed anything, since he himself gives to all mortals life and breath and all things. From one ancestor he made all nations to inhabit the whole earth, and he allotted the times of their existence and the boundaries of the places where they would live, so that they would search for God and perhaps grope for him and find him, though indeed he is not far from each one of us. For in him we live and move and have our being." Experiencing different ways of worshipping, experiencing or understanding how different people look at God, I think is an amazing opportunity that is given to every single one of us. One of the reasons I wanted to come back to Canada, not only to be with friends and to ski here. If you're going to ski, then there are bigger mountains, certainly in Canada, to ski. A lot of the understanding of how we can experience God, particularly when we're outside and in nature, seems to come up from the land over here in some way. Some of the experiences of the First Nations understandings of spirituality and of how they treat the land, that has steeped into the Canadian culture in some ways. I went to a blanket ceremony which explained some of the ways that the Canadian culture has not looked healthily on the First Nations ideas, mainly because of the horrible things that have happened to try and exterminate them, and those are the words that were used. But at the same time, there is this understanding of the world around you, and particularly when it's cold and there is snow outside, and you can sit in your houses in the warm, or when you actually go out and experience the wonder that is the snow and ice, it seeps into you. So over the next little while, I am mixing and having some conversations with some First Nations people to see where their ideas of God are and where their ideas of mountains might be. One of the first contacts I've made is really with someone who is from the plains, so they don't really have any myths about mountains, because in Saskatchewan the mountains are a very long way away and it's very flat. There is an understanding for them that the waters of life come from the mountains. Waters of life is another interesting symbolism that we use a lot in Christianity. There are some amazing things to explore, and I'm going to be doing that a little over the next little while. Hopefully the next few posts will be exciting.